metropolitan area. And it's this really profoundly positive place. We all speak English and Spanish. My kids are in dual language public schools, so they're learning math in Spanish one day, math in English the next. A quarter of those with whom I live and whom I represented in Congress were born in another country. That is not unconnected to the fact that El Paso is one of the safest cities in the United States of America. So perhaps uniquely from experience, from living, from representing that community, I can show that we have nothing to fear when it comes to immigrants from really anywhere in the world, but certainly those who arrive at our southern border. We certainly have nothing to fear from 8-year-old kids who travel on their own 2,000 miles, fleeing the deadliest places on the planet today, if they're lucky, with their moms and dads. That the answer to our legitimate concerns of illegal drug trafficking and the trafficking of human beings is not a 2,000-mile long wall, that we can make smart security investments in our ports of entry, but that we can also understand that security is treating people with dignity and respect. I just campaigned across the largest of the lower 48 states that was thought to be so reliably red, it wasn't worth the time in the Democratic Party to invest a single dime in this state. And Wisconsin knows something about Democrats and the Democratic Party not making an investment in this state. We were able to show, and I just got to be part of it in Texas, that when we show up everywhere, and I showed up in 254 counties, no matter how red, how blue, how rural, how urban, people will turn out. I lost the race by 2.6 percentage points. However, we got to help 2 Democrats win safe Republican seats in the House of Representatives, Colin Allred and Lizzie Panel Fletcher. We saw in my home district, Veronica Escobar succeed me to become the first woman to represent El Paso in the history of our community in Congress, and the first Hispanic woman to represent El Paso. And then in Harris County, which is home to Houston, Texas, the most diverse city in the country, the largest city in the state of Texas, 17 African-American women won judicial positions, literally changing the face of criminal justice. So, background as a small business owner, working in nonpartisan local government, working in the minority in Congress, campaigning across a red state, living on the U.S.-Mexico border. Those are some things that I hope that I can bring to this race. Having said that, just very briefly, I think we are lucky for every single Democrat who's running for the nomination to serve as president. There's not one of them that I would not fully get behind should they be the nominee. Do everything in my power to see them elected, replace Donald Trump, and be ready to go day one on 2021. So those may be some things that we bring to that, but again, we've got a great field, and let's just get behind whoever that nominee is at the end of the day. Thanks for the question. Oh, sorry.
Wait, I was saying, was it, well, you could, I was gonna say Tammy made me pick yesterday, and she didn't want to pick, so I just assumed.
Right.
Christina.
So I'm running my first campaign for school board in Green Bay on April 2nd. And I'm curious how you see, supporting our public school system. Our public education is the bedrock of our democracy. So how do you see that moving forward so that our kids have the resources so that they all can survive and thrive?
Something that surprised me, and it should not have in the Texas Senate race, were the number of school teachers and educators, counselors, librarians, therapists, those who serve the food in the cafeteria, those who drive the kids to and from school, coming out to our meetings in our town halls, not just in Democratic strongholds, Republican school teachers, who were sharing with me what their experience was in a world where high stakes, high pressure tests consume so much of their time, where we see it as parents. Our kids stressed out the day before that test, in part because their teacher is stressed out the day before that test. Teachers who out of their own pocket, in Texas I think it averaged almost $1,000, spend for decorations in the classroom, supplies for the students, and then for kids on free and reduced breakfast and lunch, those teachers are very often buying the dinner, buying the set of clothes for the kid who shows up in the same jeans, shirts, and underwear every single day. That teacher understands that kid's ability to learn is connected to her or his dignity, and a new set of clothes is part of that. that school teachers in Texas, almost half of them are working a second or a third job just to make ends meet. So this cannot hold, right? All these things we ask our teachers to do, in addition to active shooter drills that my kids have gone through, that their teachers in their public schools are leading, they're really demanding leadership from us. So gun safety reform, universal background checks, and banning weapons of war so that they're no longer sold into our communities. Paying teachers, educators, a living wage, and understanding the stress of school board members. In Texas, we have no income tax. And so as the state has paid a smaller share of the cost of K through 12, and I hope soon pre-K through 12 education, the rest of the burden has been borne by the local property taxpayer, and that trustee is responsible for setting the tax rate. And a tax base in El Paso, not the wealthiest community in America, is too shallow to support it for much longer. So there's a federal role in that, but also that trustee has to be the lead advocate, I would think, to ensure that their member of Congress, their senator, their president is being responsive to that. So those are some of the stresses that I heard, and those are some of the solutions, from gun safety to paying a living wage to those educators, to ensuring that we don't ask the local property taxpayer to bear disproportionately the burden that I heard. But I bet you're, as you go door to door, are hearing some of these things or some other things, and just as long as you're reflecting that in the campaign, I think you'll be successful.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Tibet.
So one thing that I really care about is healthcare, and making sure that like my family is able to afford their medication. I don't have kids, so like I'm in a weird spot. I don't always qualify for stuff because I don't. So like, how are you gonna work towards like a Medicare system or universal healthcare to make sure that that's like one less stress that especially women have to worry about, making sure that their families are covered for life.
Universal, everyone, guaranteed, meaning even if you have insurance right now, you may not be able to afford your prescriptions because the copay, 3 days ago, met a woman whose daughter's copay on her prescriptions after insurance kicks in is $444. Learned of a woman in Texas, a school teacher, who died of the flu, insured through her job, but didn't have $118, which is her copay on her flu medication. So universal, everyone, guaranteed, meaning regardless of your insurance status, you'll be able to afford or receive the care that you need to live to your full potential. And then high quality. We gotta be able to deliver for everyone at every age. That's gotta be the standard that we achieve in this country. And the paths that we can take, from a single payer system like Medicare for all, or something that might be a little bit more gradual or respectful of people's preferences today, like a bill that was introduced by Jan Schakowsky and Rosa DeLauro called Medicare for America, that says if you have employer-based insurance and you like it, and you like the network and doctors that you can see, keep it. But for the millions of Americans who have no insurance at all, we enroll them in Medicare, and we invest in Medicare such that it becomes a program of preference and people choose to move over to Medicare. That might get us there a little bit more quickly. It might give us a little bit more buy-in from folks who aren't just Democrats or who don't just believe in that one single payer system. But regardless, we've got to get there as soon as we can. I was talking to Mark Pocan today about Wisconsin and Texas sharing the distinction of not having expanded Medicaid when the federal government was going to pay 100 cents on the dollar to expand Medicaid. Inexplicable, except for Barack Obama was president, and perhaps our governors were not interested in working with him at the time, or maybe there was some other good reason not to do it. But what if we supported a second chance for states like Wisconsin and Texas? Though they missed the boat on the first effort, let's give them another shot, because it's no fault of the citizens here. Let's give them another shot to expand Medicaid, which is going to save lives. Let's introduce Medicare at a minimum on the exchanges as a public option so that you can purchase it if the cost of your premiums or the size of your deductible is too big from the one insurance provider, especially in rural communities. Lots of ways to get there, but I want to make sure that whatever we do, we're focused on guaranteed, high-quality, universal care, because you're right, it's fundamental to so much of your success beyond healthcare. Your education, being well enough to learn, your economic future, being well enough to earn, start a business, do whatever you're supposed to do in your life. So thanks for asking the question. Appreciate it.
Gil.
Can you describe your vision for America and the practical steps that you'll take to get us there?
Yes. The challenges, some of which we described in pre-K through 12 education, in healthcare, in criminal justice reform, in a country that has the largest prison population on the face of the planet, that is disproportionately comprised of people of color, far too many there for nonviolent drug crimes. While you've got folks who are responsible for the opioid epidemic, who have gotten off scot-free, while you have people who have the resources in the millions of dollars to game a college admissions process, while there are some who can't put together hundreds of dollars to be able to send their child to community